Good morning. Welcome, Larry. Hi, David. Great to have you here.
Thank you for having me, gentlemen.
Yes, welcome to another great interview today here. Larry and I have a great guest, and David Dweck. We're really excited to have you. Thank you, David, for making the long trek from Boca, 5 miles away or less.
I worked up a sweat getting here. Thanks, guys.
Oh, good. So David and I have known each other for years now. I don't even know how many. We're pushing probably 9 or 10 years at least. David's a great guy, a real mensch, just a good dude. But he's also...
That's Italian. Did you tell the folks that?
It is Italian. I thought it was Irish. But David's a great guy. He wears many hats, as many people in real estate do, but especially David is, he's an owner of the Boca Raton Investor Club.
Boca Real Estate Investment
Club.
Boca
Real Estate Investor Club. Pardon me, touche.
Yeah.
Even though I've been to your meetings and presented there for dozens of times.
It happens very often that people don't get the name right. But.
So you've got a great investor club that the meetings typically have anywhere from 50 to 150 people. You've got a lot of great followers that are there that really learn, and you educate them along with other speakers and guests that you bring on, educating them on how to be investors, how to flip properties, how to be landlords, all of that, which is amazing. Then you also are a lender and a broker. So you broker and lend hard money loans, correct?
Well, I'll just refine that a little bit. We're changing the culture a little bit to away from hard money, the hard money topic, and going to private lending.
Private lending, okay, that's good.
And for private lending, you don't need a
nice.
license because it's business to business lending. Right. After the fiasco of Dodd-Frank. Sorry, So typically, I don't do FHA or conventional loans. It's not my wheelhouse at all. I have no interest in putting together those files, but I've underwritten. And we'll talk more about numbers later.
Sure, yeah.
So I do that, and then I have my real estate license. I'm celebrating 30 years with a real estate license.
Incredible, yeah. So you also represent clients in deals, but you also have a portfolio of properties that you own as well.
Correct.
So you're a landlord.
Yeah.
How many do you have? How many doors do you have?
Hey.
So a few, more than a few.
So I'll answer that question and kind of bring it all full circle.
Sure.
So my whole deal has been multiple streams of income. That was a Bob Allen phrase back in the day, Robert Allen, who wrote the book Nothing Down. So I'm really going back old school. So, but my whole philosophy has been multiple streams of income, all within real estate. So I created these different, let's just say buckets. So I have the flipping bucket, and I pretty much retired from flipping in South Florida.
Got it.
I'm flipping in North Carolina and Western North Carolina, and I've got my portfolio of mostly really single family homes, both here and in North and South Carolina, pretty much, and then I do the real estate brokerage and private lending. So those are my real buckets, if you will.
Got it.
And as far as answering the question about doors, I have a very comfortable portfolio.
Got it. I understood. It's good for any creditors that might come along that maybe someone wants to sue you about something.
So let's go there.
Keep that private.
The bottom line is, I learned some time ago, own nothing, control everything, and I will guarantee you that all three of us here have some control freak in us because that's what makes us successful. I delegate, and I definitely am able to rely on the people who are like, I'm a layman. You're one of my attorneys. You're one of my trusted, respected advisors. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yes.
I have those type of people, and I learned along the way, just to give you an example, I was going across Palmetto Park Road. At the time, I had a very nice Mazda Miata retractable hardtop, and it was probably about a year old or something. And I'm cruising through a green light at the speed limit because I always mind my speed limit. And, I'm cruising through the green light, and I see a guy coming at me who just ran the red light and T-boned me.
Oh, no.
So I had a great witness, going through the whole process. And I get a letter that they did an asset search on me. And so I called my attorney right away and said, what the hell is going on here? He goes, oh, well, they're seeing what assets you have, and look, in today's litigious society, I'm always about, hey, cover your assets.
Yes, agreed.
So
that's great advice. Cover your assets.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different discussion.
Yes.
Another time, LLCs and
Right.
corporations, trusts.
Yes.
Get them. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Get them for those reasons. So
and just as an aside,
Yeah.
and I've taught car dealerships this. As you know, I'm a car collector.
yeah, you are prolific.
Well.
Yeah, you've got multiple garages that have awesome classic cars in there. What's your best? What's your pride and joy?
Oh, too many pride and joys.
Too many.
It's like if you ask me to pick my favorite musical artist, I can't.
Too many.
Okay,
Okay,
it's too
got
many.
it.
But I'll just tell you, it's an interesting thing that a lot of people don't know. And here's an asset protection tip. So you'll see a lot of classics and exotics with Montana license plates.
We do.
The reason being is, first of all, it's permanent. You don't have to every year you don't have to re-register the car.
Oh, wow.
B, and the best part is if you're buying a $250,000 Ferrari or Lambo, whatever you're into, no sales tax. Wow. So that is huge. So there's these little things when it comes to asset protection,
tips and tricks.
Yes.
Tips and tricks.
There you go.
And you teach many of those in your investor club.
Yeah, like land trust, another one, another great one.
Yep, Florida Land Trust is awesome.
Yes.
Keep anonymity. Buy it with anonymity.
Privacy.
You still have control of it as the trustee.
And here's, credit to you, and I know we're going a little off topic, but we might as well go there because these little anecdotes, you never know, somebody will just learn from it. Jerron knows how to close those. A lot of, let's just call them vanilla title companies and law firms, don't know about assignment of contracts, don't know about land trusts, don't know about how to do double closings. I've been, privy to some double closings where they'll go to the A to B side and use the private lending, the ultimate B2C side funds. You can't do that. So that's why you have a trusted guy like you, that the closing gets done right the first time.
I get it. Thank you. The very I'm
give
blushing.
you a plug.
I'm blushing
Yeah,
here.
I can say.
So thank you.
That's why Jerron does all my title work. So
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, good. Before we get into the real sizzle, which I think is the private lending, because you've done thousands of those loans, and I think a lot of people who are watching this may be interested either as an investor who needs those types of funding, if they're trying to flip a property or have bridge funding because they're waiting to get more traditional financing that's taking a longer period of time and they need to close on the property, or alternatively from a lender side, which I've actually been a lender on at least 4 different private loans.
Right.
And it's a great source of passive income. It's wonderful. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about your flipping, although you're moving away from that certainly in South Florida. But
Right.
I want to hear about your experience there because I think you have a lot of wisdom to give folks who are either in that or looking to get into it. But first, let's start with the Investor Club because I kind of see that as the lead generation source for a lot of your what goes into those buckets you're talking about.
Without a doubt.
And so how long have you had the Investor Club? Can you tell us about how you've grown it quickly and then how those leads come in and what are typical things you might see from people who are either attending or that refer you on to people?
A little history is that my friends John and Jim Greer just retired and sold Gold Coast School of Real Estate.
Oh, no way.
And
That's big. Most
Well,
realtors went through Gold Coast.
biggest
here
school
in Florida.
in the state of Florida.
And they're really great. I've gone through a ton of programs.
There's no better.
Yeah.
There's still no better school. But what do they teach you to do? Pass the exam. They don't teach you about real estate.
Agreed.
And they certainly don't teach you about real estate investing. There could be some stuff in the continuing education book. I know because I wrote it. But when I got my license, I'd already been an investor. So I started Brick literally next year, 2024 is the 30th year of Brick. So because there was a need. And people didn't know how to properly, whether it's landlording, land trusts, all these things, tax deed, how to do, how do you navigate a foreclosure, a short sale. People didn't know what a short sale was. And then there were guys like Frank McKinney who'd already started renovating and basically, started was one of the people that started the gentrification of Delray Beach. So Brick has grown. We've had a lot of people come through our doors. On the very first apprentice, Katrina Campins, who was at the time a teenager, she came to Brick when she was a teenager, really before she was on The Apprentice. Kendra Todd, who won The Apprentice, also came through Brick. So there are people, Brick has created a lot of real estate millionaires over the years, and some of them started with nothing. I'm really, it's so gratifying to see some of the young guys, in their 20s and 30s starting to do this, and I will fund them, and I will advise them, coach them, mentor them, whatever they need to become successful. I remember this one, I'll shout out to him, you may be watching this kid, Carlton Darville. He was referred to me, and I remember walking, he bought a duplex in Lake Worth, and I had to do a little progress inspection, and the guys there were terrible work habits, like there was debris everywhere. It was like a code violations dream. And he's walking around a job site in flip-flops.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So I pulled him aside, and I said, Colton, you're running a business. Run your business like a business. Now, I can be that tough guy and have these guys clean their act up right away. And if you want, I'll do that. I mean, I can go Brooklyn on a guy pretty quick. And he goes, all right, let's do that. I said, I'm your new partner, and I'm that asshole partner. Okay? Basically.
You're bad cop. Yeah.
So I went and I bad cop the whole thing. Yeah. And I said, move your truck. Oops.
That's the Brooklyn.
Yeah, but I had for emphasis, so forget about it. Yeah. So I Brooklynized those guys, and then you
want to be swimming with the fishes?
Yeah, with cement shoes. Hey, JK, you know what I'm talking about? Hey, forget about it. Got a little Italian in me, right? Paisan, goomba.
That's right. Yeah. There you go.
So you can take the kid out of Brooklyn, but you can't take the Brooklyn out of the kid. You didn't think this was going to get so spicy, did you? We're in the first 5 minutes here. So. But getting back to, Brick, and over the years, I've seen people, I've had, just recently, an immigrant from Russia thanked me for teaching, my 7 favorite words in negotiating. And I'll tell your crowd that. It's very simple. 7 words. Is that the best you can do? And shut up.
That's a
because
great
that
question.
Squirm, I love to watch.
Yeah, that silence right there.
The silence is golden.
It's perfect.
And it's killer.
Yep. Open-ended questions, right?
Love it.
Yeah.
That's, ABC, always be closing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't, by the way, here's a movie tip for you. If you haven't watched Glenn Ross.
Amazing movie.
I mean, first of all, Alec Baldwin's one of his finest moments. AIDA. A, do I have your attention? I, are you interested? D, make a decision. And A, take action. And remember, coffee is for closers.
Great movie.
So Brick is, Brick has evolved, and we've had some great speakers throughout the years, both, locally, regionally, nationally. So I'm very grateful for, what Brick has been able to do for the real estate investment community at large.
That's great. And you are correct. I posed the question in a different way, but what you have given to people, it's kind of like you could sell someone the milk, but why not sell them the cow so they can go and get their own milk,
right,
and they can keep producing it. And that's what you're doing with the education.
Yes.
And that is very true. And listen, I've been to many of your meetings. I've taught at some of them, but the ones that I've been at, I'm not teaching at. Yeah, exactly. I've just taught, but I've learned a lot from different speakers that you've had.
Thank you.
Yeah, the networking there. I mean, I met Jim Van Dyke there for the first time, which is like one of the top wholesalers,
prolific wholesaler here
in South Florida, right?
I'll tell you the Jim story.
Yeah.
And it's a great story. And aside from that, I'll tell you, I lost count. It's well over 100 transactions with Jim. Well over. No paperwork. Handshake.
That's amazing.
That's
rare.
The bond.
Yeah.
And the friendship that we had.
Yeah.
Jim
Speed
came.
of trust, right?
And that is earned. And Jimmy and I have done deals where we don't even know we're making money together because he's referred to me and I referred to him. Jim found what he likes to do after coming to Brick and having his head spin. So he came to my first, or it was one of my first expos where I had different vendors, head spinning. I mentored him. He was a former golf pro. I mentored him, decided what he liked, really honed in on wholesaling, and now this co-wholesaling. He doesn't even leave his desk.
Yeah.
It is one of the greatest investor business models ever.
It's genius. I was talking to him about this, and he told me that little secret, if you want to call it, right? And I was like, no way. Because it looks like, I mean, he's got control of the wholesale market almost, right?
So, but here's the thing with Jim is that he is well networked on the investor side. Okay, if you've got a property and you've got a property, we're all going to give it to Jim. I mean,
always.
So, I mean, I could do it on my own, which I've done. But if I want to get it maximum exposure, and like some of his buyers are paying stupid money. I mean, I can't.
Almost retail prices on wholesale deals.
And so that to me is like a testament. Like if he can sell it at almost retail prices, I'm not buying it, but somebody else will. And there are deals on his list. His list is wide. He goes, he's pretty much throughout the state as far as, state of Florida, especially most major markets, whether it's, Tampa, Orlando, here, whatever. And he has mastered the art of the co-wholesale, and my hat goes off to him, but he started a brick.
Yeah. That's just another businessman that started a brick, and then you're right, he found that niche. And it snowballed to such a point that I don't even know if other wholesalers can. I'm not saying there aren't other successful wholesalers out there, but I think there can only be one Jim in this market.
Yeah, we're about to go. I'm going to open up the first can of worms. So let me tell you the difference. There are a lot of younger wholesalers that got greedy, and during this run up, they were making not $20,000 or $30,000 on a single family flip. They're making $60,000 or $80,000, and not necessarily leaving enough meat on the bone for the next guy. Excuse me.
Yep.
So there's a reckoning, and it's happening now, because a lot of those wholesalers were. My guess is, Larry, you're doing your marketing organically using social media and so forth, and there's a lot of goodwill and a lot of
there's a reputation there.
There's a reputation. A lot of these young guns are spending a lot of money on social media, and just really churning. I'll use that term because it's a crappy Wall Street term.
Turn and burn.
Yeah, and without caring about the relationship. Well, damn it, real estate is a people business. I know, with a good amount of certainty that you and I will continue to do business and enjoy that, that business relationship, the friendship that grew out of it, and I value that. And I can't put a price on that. That's what our real estate business is about, is those relationships. And I tell people, hey, look, if you want to borrow money from me, and if you find it cheaper elsewhere, hey, God bless, this is capitalism. Take it.
Well, I'll give you a kudo on that. So at your investor club meeting, you'll have people that will pay to be members that will come up and speak and promote their businesses. You'll have multiple private lenders that will come up and promote their services, which technically is cannibalizing your business, but you're so honorable with that that the club isn't there just for your private pickings.
That's correct.
It's there for the general public. It's there for all investors, and you're equal in how you treat people, which is amazing. Which let me give you one other kudo here, and then let's move on before we start. We're ingratiating each other way too much here. We got a love fest going on, but I would say you're probably your name that I've used with other people, and when I mention it, is so well known in this community. I can't think of another person, and I deal with a lot of investors. I deal with a lot of realtors. But nearly every person I mention your name to, they not only know you, or at a minimum know of you, but they also know that you have a great reputation. And that is so important, and that's what I tell people, whether it's in business or in life. You only have one name, you only have one reputation in life, and it's really quick and easy to burn that. You do a couple bad deals, you treat people poorly. It's so easy to burn that reputation so quickly, especially in a community that people say South Florida's big, but it's not that big, especially this greater Boca Raton area.
Listen, it's interesting. Back in the days at the courthouse steps, just giving a little history, I used to go to the auctions Palm Beach, Broward, Miami-Dade. And each auction had its own little nuances and differences. That is a thing of the past, but
it's all online now.
Yeah,
it's online.
Everything's online, and the whole ball game has changed. But the bottom line is each market has its little niches and nuances, and the people. And the one thing that I pride myself in, my late father, God rest his soul, taught me about honesty and integrity. And my father's name was Abraham, so Honest Abe, and I wanted to carry that legacy because, first of all, nobody could ever say, like, as a private lender, Dweck stole from me because I don't touch the money. Yeah. It gets wired to your trust account. You're doing the closing. I don't touch the money. And at the end of the day, I want to do good business with good people. And when I underwrite, I'm cognizant of who is my borrower, who am I doing business with. And there have been times where I've uncovered before closing, like, hey, something's not kosher here. And I want to get to the bottom of it. It's one of the things I don't like to do is hurry up and close because there could be a mistake. Whether I make the mistake or, the docs are not right, whatever it is. I want, again, I want to do good business with good people. And I appreciate the kudos. It's very kind of you.
It's true. So I don't give gratuitous compliments. But so on that note, let's move to the private lending, because I think there's a lot of people out there that don't know a whole lot about it. If you're not directly in the investment game, so to speak, either typically it's used with investors who are flipping properties. They're going to buy a property, they're going to fix the property up, and then for a short period of time, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months, maybe 9 months, 12 months, and then they're going to sell it. That's one of the most common reasons to use private lending. But why don't you tell us about the private lending business, so those in the audience who don't know about it, tell us what it is and how it's different than just going to Wells Fargo or your local lender and getting a loan.
You're not going to be able to go, first of all, forget the big banks. Don't get me started.
Sure. The brick and mortar, don't get me started.
I mean,
they've ruined so many of my clients' deals.
I was just going to say.
Caused me nightmares. Yeah,
we'll leave it there because we all agree.
Yeah.
So, but you're also not going to be able to necessarily go to a community bank or any, credit union and close a deal within 30 days. It's just not going to happen. The most important thing to know about private money is the ready availability of the money. And if your deal is good, I want to fund it. Now, you have to look at the big picture. For people to understand what private lending is, it's basically quick access to capital. And what do you have to do to really be able to get a private loan? It's simple. I say it starts with the 3 C's. You have to have the capital to close it, carry it, and construct it. And that's for real. If you're whether you're a landlord or landlady or you're a flipper, you've got to have capital. Because if you're doing projects every month, I guarantee you will hear that sucking sound out of your bank account.
Yeah.
You're going to be writing so many checks, whether it's, never mind interest, but just to your vendors and everything else. So if you buy really right, yes, you can get 100% financing. You've done documents for those deals that I've funded 100%. I've got some young guys who focus on the north part of Palm Beach County. I'm doing another deal with them now. It's, I'm funding 100+% because I'm giving them money to rehab. But they've got a track record. They've got experience. They've got credit. They've got capital they work with. They're not going to be strapped. And now it's going to be interesting as we may, and I say may, be sliding into a bit of a recession in the third quarter. I'm tightening up a little bit as far as, I'll give you an example. When I underwrite, I want to go back either 6 months or a year. Now, a year ago, the market was different. The market was pistol hot. Interest rates were half what they are now, as we know. Mm-hmm. So the last 6 months are really the market for me. So let's just say if the high sale was 500, but everything else is in the mid 4s, I'll take the 3 comps in the mid 4s. That's my comp. If somebody's saying, oh, it's worth 500. Well, it was worth 500 maybe 6 months ago, and that's your high sale. You may not get, an appraiser on a retail deal is going to be cognizant of where the market's going and doesn't want to get screwed. So I'm being realistic. I'm being, I want them to succeed. So one of the reasons why we're moving away from the hard money environment is because of the stigma with the hard money reputation. It used to be hard money lenders were, shysters. They were in the loan to own business. They would loan on something because they wanted to own it themselves, and they were hoping
they want you to fail and foreclose on it, so they get all the equity.
That's not me.
Right, I get it.
So
you want them to succeed,
absolutely,
and you want your borrowers to get their interest paid.
And some of these guys you're mentoring anyway, right?
Well, a lot of times,
so you have some loyalties to both sides. Sometimes,
yeah. And again, my fiduciary is always going to be to the lender.
Mm-hmm. Of course,
But I want the borrower to succeed and hopefully come back to me to do more business. I mean, I've got
by the borrower succeeding, the lender succeeding.
It's a win-win all around.
Right.
Sure.
Yep.
And look, if somebody has, trouble, can't pay, is facing the challenge, pick up the phone and let's work it out. Let's see what we can do to avoid the worst case scenario. What's the worst case scenario? Foreclosure. Mm-hmm. And obviously, if we get there, then they're going to you. They're going to, lenders are going to come to you and you'll start the process. But I've been very fortunate since the Great Recession, and I don't believe in my lifetime, maybe in yours, you'll see something like that. Barring, whether it's a Wall Street collapse, whatever, World War III, God forbid, or something, some catastrophic event, I don't think I'll see something like that. I mean, it kicked me in the ass. I'm not going to lie. Anybody who was doing business back then who said, I wasn't affected by the Great Recession is full of it.
Yeah.
Period.
Sure.
So, but I got myself up. I got bumped. I got bruised. I got myself up. And I said, that's it. I know I can, at one point I thought, do I hang it up? No, I didn't. I wasn't going to do that.
Good.
I decided I was going to come back and I'll be stronger than ever. And I set my intention. And I like to, this is one of my Dweckisms, and you'll hear a few of them today. One, work smarter, play harder. Okay? Set your intention, impose your will.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
Don't let anybody stop you. I know that I'm unstoppable. Everybody at this table is unstoppable because of our level of success and our level of perseverance, our level of stick-to-itiveness, to get it done and just get to the finish line and enjoy the journey along the way.
It's true.
So
getting over those speed bumps. And,
yes.
Breaking through breakdowns. There's always going to be breakdowns, but you got to break through. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful for that. And as we're going into third quarter, let's see what happens. Now, again, I tune out a lot of the noise, and you and I have spoken about this. I get my news from some reliable sources. I form my own opinions. I do a lot of reading, and even in today's Wall Street Journal, the Miami market, they profiled the Miami market. And it wasn't negative. It just said it's settling down a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that's okay.
Yeah.
We're in a more of let's just call it a normal market. It's not a seller's market necessarily. It's not a buyer's market. It could be interpreted both ways. I still say it's more of a seller's market.
Agreed.
And if you're a landlord or landlady down here, I'm blown away. And I'll give you an example. This is just real life anecdotes and stories. You did an eviction. My first eviction, I can't tell you in how many years. Mm-hmm. You did this eviction. It was in St. Lucie. You knew what was great is they knew the nuances of that particular county.
Every judge is different. Every county's different.
Grateful for that.
Yeah.
Grateful for that. Got it done very quickly. I said, you know what? I bought the house right. I put a new roof on while I was evicting the tenant. And got the tenant out, got it renovated in less than 30 days. I put it on. I'm not going to share this secret yet, but I got it rented. Maybe we'll share it later. It's a teaser for them to stay on the podcast. So I got it. I put it up for $1,700 for a 3-1, like that.
Nice.
There's no rental inventory for the affordable piece.
So, and historically, residential rents have not gone down in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know that they will.
That's so true. And like we did that analysis 2005. We looked at the data because I started buying in 2010, 2011, 2012.
Right.
And we were looking at what people were paying for property in 2006, 2007, before the collapse. And we were looking at rents then. And then we were looking at rents in 2011. And we're paying half of what we were paying to buy the property, but rents were the same.
Right.
It's like, what happened there? Like I was baffled by that.
There was pretty much no dip. And one of the reasons for that during the foreclosure crisis, because I started my law firm in 2010. I was an attorney for 8 years before that, but was not working in real estate. But when we started our law firm in 2010, it was mostly exclusively foreclosure defense, short sales, loan mods that we were dealing with. Mm-hmm. But what I noticed is that so much of the supply of housing, so while housing was crashing, yes, but the supply of housing was coming off the market because people were being removed from the houses, and a lot of times these houses were not being put back on the market by the banks. So there was shadow inventory that was everywhere. So it's all supply and demand. So while demand might not have spiked up because people were hurting, people were losing their jobs, but supply kept shrinking and shrinking because of the shadow inventory, which kept rents at a pretty stable level, even in a catastrophic recession.
And a couple of points on tagging on to what you're saying is that the difference back then in 08, 09 was people did not have equity. Now, there's plenty of equity out there.
Even people being foreclosed on now, there's not a ton of them, but that are falling behind, they have equity in their properties, almost all of them.
And by the way,
if they've owned it for more than 2 or 3 years.
And if these properties, and they will start to go to foreclosure, you know better than I do, as quickly as they come to market, they'll be absorbed.
Absolutely.
My experience has been like I have clients reach out to me and say, all right, we want to buy foreclosures. And I'm like, well, let's talk about this. Why do you want to buy? Oh, I want a deal. I'm like, okay, well, a deal could be anywhere. Right. Let's start with that. Right. But these foreclosure properties, depending on how you define that, right? Because that's a whole nother discussion. These properties that are bank owned that come on the MLS, they're being marketed. And when I list properties for banks or when I short sell properties, the banks want their money. They're not like just giving these things away.
Right.
They're selling them for market value or somewhere close to that, whatever the reasonable price is.
The banks have gotten more savvy when it comes to, they're in tune with the Florida market. Now, a lot of REO brokers that I know either retired or they're not getting the listings. I mean,
agreed.
It's where you used to have so many REO brokers down here, that list has shrunk, and I don't even know that I have funded an REO that I can remember.
It's been years since I've done an REO deal. It's but one of the common themes between what we've been saying the last 10 minutes is if I had to summarize it, is that if you're an investor, you don't have to wait for the perfect timing in the market. Money can be made in any type of market.
That's correct.
Any type of political climate. You may be a raging Democrat and you hate that there's a Republican president or vice versa. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Money can be made. It doesn't matter what Congress passes.
Your politics
keep it out of making money.
Nothing to do with making money.
And the same thing with a recession that can be an opportunity as prices are dropping to make money.
So, and if you
get into short sales.
Again, if you listen to the herd and have a herd mentality, you're going to be dead broke.
That's right.
Period.
Yep.
I remember back in the day, when the big run up, certain realtors were and mortgage brokers were pushing these crappy products, and realtors were saying, "Oh, appreciation is guaranteed." Are you kidding me? Appreciation is never guaranteed. And when you have your pool guy, no offense to the pool guys out there, giving you real estate advice, you better get your head examined. So
it was what was the movie with the
strippers?
That's one of the greatest scenes of all time.
JK, leave your clothes on. All right.
when the strippers are owning 4 investment properties, it's time to sell.
Yes. So what's also interesting is the rental market here, because we didn't finish that little topic. I was shocked that a little 2-1, 800 square feet in unincorporated Palm Beach County, that 3 years ago was a $1,200 or $1,300 rental. Put it up for $1,750 and to a paralegal, rented to a paralegal.
Yeah, and
it is frightening. And I've had these tales. I had one tenant. I own this property. I bought it. I'm not kidding. I bought it probably 12, 13 years ago for $44,000. And I had a tenant in there. I didn't realize she was in there. She was my charity case for 11 years. And I said, I went to collect the rent from her, and I said, I got to talk to you. She looked at me, and I could tell she knew something was coming. I said, Mary, I'm selling the property. She started to break down and cry.
Oh, yeah.
Because she wasn't going to find.
She was getting a free ride for years.
Well, it wasn't free, but it was way below market. And I said, look, this is just, again, you run your rental portfolio, as you know, like a business. But I have a soft spot for single moms.
Same.
Okay?
Get it.
She's a single mom with two young girls who were bright, and she lived with her mother and her two daughters. And I said, I'm going to help you buy a home. Yeah. And I wasn't even her realtor because I didn't have the time to do it. I sent her a check for $1,000, and the Caring House Project Foundation, Frank McKinney, sent her $1,000. So he gave her partial down payment, and she closed on her house.
That's awesome.
That's wonderful.
Yep.
That's a great story.
I have a wild story about this. So we bought a property from a seller, 9 units. There was an old lady living in it. She was paying, I don't know, like $700 a month, and the rents were like $1,600 as is, $1,600. And the guy said, "I'll sell it to you if you keep this lady in here." And I said, we did the math. We're like, yeah, that's fair and that's fine, and we get it too. We agree. So we kept her in there. We didn't raise her rents. She stayed there till she died. Wow. In the unit. It was just so sad because like she had no family, no nothing. So like that's why we just helped her out.
That good deed goes a long way.
Yeah, years and years and years.
Yes,
it was crazy.
Wow. Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
Back to I love these types of dialogues and conversations where we move between topics. But let's get back to the lending for a bit. So, from my experience here in South Florida, it could be different if someone's watching from Minnesota or
Minnesota.
The typical rates for this type of what some people call hard money or investor lending is typically around 12%, and it can be different. I know sometimes there's a little less or a little more, and normally there's maybe a point or two involved. And by a point, for those people who don't know, or 3, if the loan is $200,000, a point means that the lender or the broker is charging $2,000, so that's 1 point, 1%.
Well, let's dissect it.
Please
because
do.
What's interesting is when I started borrowing hard money over 30 years ago, the rates here, standard rates, no matter who you went to. Now, granted, you're buying properties like in Pompano for 30, 40 grand, maybe 50 grand, in Boynton for 20, 25, 30 grand. And the rates were 3 points, 15%, no matter who you went to. Tampa, back at that time, was 5 points and 15%. The market differs really sometimes county to county or state to state. And
by region.
What I do know, let's just focus on South Florida, and I'm giving you my perspective because there's going to be people that are different. But your interest rate's going to be anywhere. It could be as low as 9. Now that's rare, but typically somewhere between 10 and 13 is accurate. Somewhere between 2 to 3 points. There are these, some lenders charge junk fees, but I'm going to go on record and tell you because you prepare my closing statements, and it's very simple. We have a $150 inspection fee. We go to look at the property if it's a single-family home. We have $500 for doc prep on a single-family home it's payable to your law firm, and then we have a $50 wire fee, a $200 administration fee, and that's it.
Got it.
Every other charge is title charges, and we don't require a survey. We don't require a home inspection. I lay eyes on the property. If I'm going to see a property of Larry's and Larry's a sophisticated guy, and I could say, hey, did you see this structural crack here? That could be something that we need to pay attention to. Like, do you have experience with that? Whatever. I'm just giving an example. Sure. I'm looking for something. If I'm going to look at a deal, if I'm actually physically inspecting it, there's a 99% chance I'm doing a loan. I don't leave my office unless I think I have a deal.
Got it.
So
you'll do some quick basic underwriting, go on Zillow or Google or look at the images.
Did you say the Z word? No. No, I will not go on Zillow. Okay, Zillow is not the big real estate disruptor that they think they are.
How are you
Zillow
getting?
can kiss my ass.
How are you getting your estimated
Sorry.
prices?
Okay,
How are you
let's
getting
go there.
I'm learning not to assume anything with David.
No. You know what happens when you do that. So there are some credible ways to find comps, but I'm a licensed realtor and I use the MLS because a lot of stuff, most stuff is sold on the MLS.
That's the way to do it.
That's smart.
So but now here's what I'll do. Let's say you have a 3-2 and it's 1,500 square feet. Then I want to match it with a 3-2 that's 1,500 square feet. Garage, no garage, water. I'm taking, apples to apples comparison going back 6 months. And I do not use Zillow. Zillow is inaccurate information.
Yeah. And I didn't, just so you know, to defend myself, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that was going to be your final underwriting. Right. But if while they're on the phone,
is that your final answer?
For 3 minutes, if you just, so I do that fairly often. Like, not that I underwrite deals or anything, but I will have someone that will ask me, "Oh, I've got this deal. I don't know if it's a short sale or not." So I just go to Zillow real quick and look. Okay, $300,000. How much is your mortgage? And let's say it's $350,000. Well, you're underwater. Probably.
In your defense, you don't have access to the MLS.
And I don't have access to the MLS. So
but you're an attorney. You get your license.
Yeah, there you go. True. Right, I have it.
And you have enough people that can get you access to MLS.
Yeah. So you underwrite the deal, you feel comfortable with it, and then what would be reasons why someone might have a little lower rate, like let's say a 10% rate as opposed to a 12% rate?
Credit, experience, capital.
Okay. Someone who's come back to you 3 and 4 times and they've done 3 or 4 successful deals.
Yes.
Got it. You'll talk about slightly lower rates with them. Got it.
What are you mostly lending on these days? Like, what are you doing?
Great question, Larry. So my wheelhouse mostly is single family.
Okay.
I've done some construction. I did one of my borrowers who does unbelievable work. So I've loaned him some money for that.
Ground up or just, okay, interesting.
And rare that I'll do it. Mm-hmm. He has a lot of experience. I'll do multifamily. I will do office warehouse. I will not do strip centers.
Why is that?
Because I think retail is up for some big challenges.
Got it. So this is a more recent change, since COVID, more or less.
Yeah.
Got it. But you would have done it maybe 5 years ago.
I have, there's one retail loan that I did in Wilton Manors, and gosh, he still has a loan out, and equity is huge. So I'm okay with something like that.
Yeah.
If you have a retail where you own it and there's a sufficient equity, I'm not going to turn it down.
Right.
But it's just I don't necessarily want to do it.
You underwrite the deal like you're an investor, right? When you
That's
loan
correct.
on deals.
So I look at it this way: I don't want to fund a deal that I wouldn't necessarily want to own myself. Mm-hmm. And however crazy that sounds, like I'm underwriting, and I'm going there. I'm underwriting something now. It's a multifamily on Tamarind. Now, if you follow, and I don't care.
That's my neck of the woods, by the way.
Okay,
I own a fair amount of property.
It's historically a high crime area in West Palm Beach.
And you know something? I've owned stuff.
Yeah.
I own a duplex on 7th Street.
All right.
It wasn't all right.
Yeah.
Because when I closed on it, there was a guy, I went there, and he said, "Hey, man, I just got out of jail. Do you mind if I hang out here?" I said, "Yeah, I mind. Get your ass out."
It's tough. You have to buy right in those neighborhoods. And if you didn't...
Now, here's the lesson I learned.
Yep.
I put a sign, professionally made sign. Section 8 okay, 0 deposit. Nobody wanted to rent. When I went back to this duplex the second time, he was in the house. This is the back unit. He broke in. He was camping out there. Called the police. Called 911. They didn't come.
Yeah, I know.
I called the deputy outside. He's outside his jurisdiction, came and arrested the guy.
Wow.
And so here's the thing. In certain areas, if you've got the stomach for it and you've got the track record, I'm interested.
Sure.
If it's not your cup of tea, don't make it your cup of tea.
Yeah. As like one of my 3rd or 4th deals, early in like, I don't know, 2013, 2014, 2015, somewhere around there, and didn't entirely know what I was doing, didn't appreciate what I was getting into.
Okay.
I closed the day after. SWAT stormed the building to pull out somebody who was wanted, and I quickly learned, and then we had to quickly put in place systems to get our hands on that, because our option was sell the building and get the heck out of this situation, which was an option. We considered it, or like weather the storm and make this like somewhat of an expertise, and we chose to make it an expertise, and we've since bought other buildings in there, and again, you have to pay the right number for that stuff. Like there's stuff for sale in there right now that I wouldn't pay. I've brokered deals in that market and other markets like that for multifamily investors, but yeah, it's tough. And I always have the same conversation. Do you understand the consequences of what you're choosing to do here?
Right.
And are you ready for that?
And along those lines, like I'll fund in Pahokee and Belglade very selectively. And
I won't buy in those two markets because it's not my expertise, too far away, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
And I know those markets well enough to say,
I'm going to shout out to him, my oldest borrower, who's also my oldest borrower. So when I started lending 22 or 3 years ago, I loaned to the Reverend A.C. Evans. So Rev, if you're listening, Reverend is 90 plus years old. And I go out to Pahokee and Belglade and South Bay for him, but he steals out there.
And if you understand that market, you can do it.
He understands it.
And just got to be cash cows out there. They just must cash. It just the prices of things are so different than 30.
But wait a minute,
30 miles away in Wellington,
But there's a huge disparity. On one side of the street, you have big sugar money like the Fanholes.
Yep.
On the other side, you have the poorest of the poor.
I get it.
I sold and loaned to the biggest building in Belglade, 70 plus units. And then I foreclosed about 15 years ago. And I resold it. And I resold it to an attorney in Miami who I believe still owns it today.
I know who that is. Oh my gosh.
Abby?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because I was approached. I think she's trying to sell it now.
Boy, I give her credit for owning that.
We'll talk offline about that.
Yeah. Anyway,
but there you go. Another small world incident. Yeah.
No one's buying it. So like,
whoa. Yeah. You want to go there? What happened?
Demand is weird there. That's the whole thing.
So the guy
I
loaned to was a big Jamaican guy. I said to him, "You sure you can handle this?" "Oh yeah, no problem, man. Everything gonna be good." He would call me, "Man, they're stealing the pipes. They're stealing the copper."
Totally.
It's like this is it became a real shit show. So
well, that's same in the areas that we were just talking about that I own in. Like that is another skill set that you need to have when you're doing big renovation projects, which I've done there, like big projects there, and you got to have extra protection. You got to have things boarded up.
Yes.
All these things are like
air conditioning units in Riviera Beach and Central West Palm. They would steal the central
I know
AC
all
units,
about it.
And you'd have to bolt them into the concrete. And
listen,
even
first of all, I'm going to tell you, I owned a house on Camilla Street in West Palm off Parker. And I was renting it, and I wound up selling the house. But I remember I'm getting, it's all ready for rent. And I get a call from a realtor. Are your French doors supposed to be open in the back?
Oh, no. Yikes.
No. He said, well, you want me to walk through it and see what's up? I said, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
He said, did you have appliances in there?
Oh, no.
Oh, shoot.
No, wait. He said, can you just do me a favor? I just put in 2-zone air conditioning, put in 2 brand new. I had $10,000 just vanish.
Oh, no.
And,
Not fun.
It was not fun.
You got to get these things leased up fast in those markets.
Yes.
Because when people are there, it's
they normally
better.
don't.
Right.
It's not perfect, but it's better.
But it was worse. It's gotten a bit better. But, look, there's obviously challenges. It's, again, the nuances, the experience, all this adds up. And in your short time, you've had obviously a lot of experience and you learn from them. Now, I'm at a different point. I don't, like if it's a major rehab, I'm done with that. I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah.
You pick your battles. Yeah.
Yes.
You can pick them at this point. So that's great.
Yeah.
Speaking of picking battles or picking investments, let's just talk about the lending from the lender side too, because I mentioned before that I've done hard money loans out from the lender side at least 4 different times over the years. It's all been great experiences because I've been paid, of course, We had reasonable LTVs. I think most of them were about 65% or 70% loan to value. So there was a lot of spread and equity in there, which is great.
Good.
And then I was getting 12% interest on these, which was great as well. It's a really passive income, and especially for times like right now, I think being a lender in this with these types of private loans is incredible, because it is hard to find cash flowing, decent ROI deals. Now you can find them. You have to look a lot harder, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But if you can get passive income at 1% a month,
I mean,
it's pretty nice.
It's mailbox money.
It's mailbox money.
Now, I'll ask you and I'll challenge you. You know, maybe CDs are paying 4% now. Mm-hmm. Okay, we know what the prime rate is. For an average investor, if a 5 or 6 cap is good enough for you, well, God bless you, but it ain't good enough for me.
Yep.
So I need to have at least a 10 cap on any rental property I own. That's just me.
Sure.
Now,
That's a big number. That's like, I don't want to say impossible to get here in South Florida, but it's very hard,
Okay.
right?
agreed.
Which is why you've gone to
Which
the
is
mountains of
why
North
I-
Carolina.
You know,
And I want to talk about that.
Yeah, we
at
will.
some
We'll
point.
talk
I know
about
you
that
do.
shortly. Yeah.
So you know,
Online and offline.
Yeah. So the bottom line is, depending on what your risk tolerance is,
Exactly.
if you're a lender, basically my job is to get you mailbox money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't service loans because to service loans you need a license, and but I underwrite, and I know how to underwrite, and I know how to match a borrower with a lender. And if you tell me, hey, David, I want to put some money out, and I don't mind if, maybe they're a little shaky credit-wise or experienced because I like the asset, I wouldn't mind owning the asset. Well, okay. Some lenders, I have a lot of retirees. They just want to go to their mailbox and get money. I have, one lender's a widow. I want to make sure she gets mailbox money. She doesn't know real estate. She doesn't want headaches. So I a lot of times match a lender to a property. And, thankfully, in all the hundreds of millions of dollars I've underwritten and loaned on, my foreclosure rate is single digit. I mean, you've not done a foreclosure for me in...
Yeah. At all, really,
I
in
don't
the last
think-
7-8 years. Yeah,
No, I don't think
can't
not
remember
one.
one. Yeah, maybe a threatening letter years
a
ago.
letter,
But yeah.
Yeah.
But because here's the deal: if you're not going to communicate with me, then you're going to get a letter. And sometimes I just say, screw it, just file.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I'm
Move
I'm out
on.
of
You're
patience.
done with the nonsense. Let's just do it.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
This is not a game we're playing. This is business.
Yeah. And life is short, and you don't have time to deal with this.
I don't.
Yeah.
Because the less I care, the less I do, the more I make.
I love that. That's actually pretty interesting, right?
Another
Dweckism.
Dweckism.
Yeah.
We got to get a little book together,
Yeah.
like little
No, it's together.
coffee table
Coffee
book.
table
No,
book.
100 Dweckisms.
No,
yeah.
it's going to be published this year.
Good. I love it.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
in the
you're
yeah.
being serious?
Oh yeah, I'm being serious as a heart attack.
Oh,
I love
that's
it.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that'll be the first
Yeah.
book on my coffee table. Yeah.
Yeah, right here. Here's another one. Ready?
Go ahead.
Pleasant persistence wears down resistance.
So true.
With honey.
That is what my mom, who's my partner in the
Yeah.
real estate business, is a pro at,
Yeah,
right? Because
I
we
believe
list
it.
property. Obviously, sellers like to list high sometimes.
Yep.
And so she's just
She's
super sweet,
extremely
nice,
pleasant and very persistent.
and very resistant. So eventually,
She's a door knocker. So
Yeah,
like,
good for her.
no one does that anymore. She's one of the only door knockers.
I'm gonna
left.
tell you something.
She door knocks in East Boca, and she
kills
kills it.
it. She's the best. She's the best in the business. I'll put my name to that.
And her personality is fantastic. You love her.
First of all, no
She's-
offense, guys,
Yeah.
but people are not opening up their doors to us.
I tried.
To your mom?
I
No.
tried. Her and
Now-
I tried it to get like I went one way, she went the
Right.
other way. She's a killer, man.
Now I tell you,
yeah.
it's interesting. I have this
Didn't work out.
black couple. She's Haitian American. He's American black, and they go door knocking, and they've gotten deals. And
Love it. That's
you know,
awesome.
they
It's
It's a
started
numbers game, right?
big time. And a lot of the old fashioned stuff like driving neighborhoods, getting to know neighborhoods. I call it driving for dollars. Really, it's in industry jargon. That's how you really learn. And then, okay, if they've got like the old drapes and a old Buick Century in the driveway, chances are they're an old couple, and chances are if they're not dead yet, they're gonna, and then they'll move to Cemetery Village. You know what their motto is, right?
What's that?
we're dying over here. Sorry, it was really
By
bad.
Cemetery Village, you mean Century Village, but that's a play on words for those people who don't live in Palm Beach County. Yes, yeah.
You know, but actually, since we went there, it's interesting. Now, Century Village, those bunkers were built in the 60s and 70s. We have collectively no desire to ever live in that kind of bunker.
Yeah.
So those bunkers are now, you know, their monthly fee is like $450, $500 for like a 1 or 2 bedroom. How are the older folks going to afford
Crazy.
that, along with taxes and insurance?
This is a whole nother topic of special
Think about it.
assessments that
Yes.
are about to hit people because of the collapse of the building in Miami Beach, and now there's new requirements across the state of Florida for associations. Anything over, I believe it's 2 stories.
Tell me about it, because I live in one.
Yeah, yeah. So
Do not get me started.
yeah, it's not going to be good, but
It's everywhere. I mean,
Oh,
it's everywhere.
no.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'll just be very transparent. And I'm vocal about it because I'm tired of the BS. The board of directors last year in my building went out and borrowed $8 million at
I've seen it so many times.
4%, but it doesn't matter. But then they decided to do a number of projects at the same time. It's completely mismanaged. And I thought it would be 25 over cost. I was wrong. It's 40% over. So a $900,000 pool is now going to be $3 million. And it's not a resort-style pool. Don't get me started.
you're wondering where envelopes are being passed. That's the question.
This is like such a common thing. I've had multiple condo owners tell me about the cost, specifically the cost of doing a pool. And it's just like, oh yeah, it costs double. I'm like, oh, $1 million or something, right? No. Like some crazy number that you're like, how is that even like in this world? Yeah.
So for me to be able to reason it, I love where I live, and it's the cost of doing business to living, you know, where
Exactly. That's how I communicate it to people too. It's like this is the reality of this, and you can't really escape it to a degree. Maybe you get one condo that's managed really, really well, and you're lucky. But for the most part, everybody's experiencing something similar.
If you want the condo life, that's what you're going to experience here in South
Now,
Florida.
and I do love, you know, like when I go to North Carolina, I lock the door and go,
It's
bye-bye.
wonderful. Yeah, you don't have to worry about lawn maintenance and your sprinklers breaking and all the who's cleaning your pool and
None of that.
Yeah, agreed.
So back to the lending piece. So do you lend your own money as well, or do you just connect investors?
Great question. So in the private lending space, without a license, I cannot lend my money.
Okay.
My money is tied up in my deals. You know, I borrow hard money, private money rather. Oops, faux pas. I borrow it because if it makes sense, I always am a big believer of using OPM. So, and, you know, I am a big believer in good leverage. So, you know, for instance, I'll give you this an idea, and I'm jumping the gun a little bit. In North Carolina, you know, things are a little slow up there, you know.
Slow as molasses.
Well, you know, if you're from L.A., you know where L.A. is? Do you know?
I don't know.
That's Lower Alabama.
There you go.
I'm a New Yorker. I move fast. So a property came on the market in Waynesville. Nice
Nice little town in the
Yeah,
mountains of North
you know
Carolina.
it.
Beautiful, yeah.
And my agent up there discovered, the house next door is for sale. So I said, all right, tell them I'll buy both for $200,000. When combined, they were listed for like $250, $260, whatever it was. And next thing you know, she goes, they counted at $203. I said, well, hurry up and drop the contract, please.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
They needed that extra $3K.
And just to put it in perspective,
Tough negotiators.
you know, listen,
You should listen. You didn't listen to your own advice.
I know, I
you
should've
should have
bought
gone
for
back.
like
No.
180.
No. You should have gone back and said, "Is that the best you can do?" And paused.
No. At 203,
You would have gotten 200.
No, just seal the deal.
Seal it.
I'm joking. I'm joking. Yeah.
So, ironically, you know, we have an insurance crisis here. And
For those that don't know, prices of insurance are through the roof for a whole variety of reasons we don't need to get into. But yes,
so
in Florida,
just to put it in perspective, you know, I pay 6 figures a year to insure my properties, and it's like I'm throwing money down the drain because God forbid if I have a claim, am I going to get paid? Just to put it all in perspective, I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but my average house, let's just say if I have a house here east of 95, the insurance on that house, the taxes and insurance are going to average between $6,000 and $8,000 a year. Okay? Up there, my average is between $1,200 and $2,000 all in a year. Major difference. So that's one of the reasons why I'm doing more.
Smart. But you're also diversifying, because what happens if a hurricane comes through here in South Florida, which is highly likely. It happens regularly.
Well, these floods last week, that was
scary.
Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, not a flash storm like that. Yeah. I have a client of mine and a friend. He's a friend as well. He lives on the 19th floor of a condo building in Fort Lauderdale.
I know what you're talking about.
And the fascia on the side of the building was cracked. It flooded in his unit, and the water got in. It's
all
buckled
the way down the stack.
All the way down the stack, buckled all of his.
How old is the building?
It's relatively new. It's one of the nice buildings there. Yeah, it's a high-end unit, extremely high-end, but buckled all of his flooring. The walls completely wet. They're going to have to replace all of that. And now I think he's going to have to move out. I've had 2 phone calls with him about what his rights are as a tenant and giving a 7-day notice to cure and terminating his tenancy. And it's not fun.
He called me and he was asking me some opinions, and I'm like, called Jerron.
Yeah. I'm happy to be that guy. Yeah. But the point is that by diversifying, because let's say you have 100% of your portfolio here, and I got to admit, I do, between Palm Beach and Broward County. If we had some mega storm that came through, I'm in big trouble, even with insurance, because you know that they're not going to pay out 100%. You're going to have to fight them. It's going to be, it's going to take years.
I know what's going on the West Coast, and they're underreporting it, but there are people really struggling to get paid there. Now, did you visit that damage?
I didn't visit it.
Okay.
I've seen some tours of it online.
I will tell you, I went firsthand to drop off material about 3 or 4 weeks after the storm, give or take, and I drove 100 miles through just mounds of debris and homes that when you looked at them, they looked fine, but they were submerged underwater, and they had signs, you loot, I shoot, that kind of thing. So we do have a crisis here. And are these insurance companies, there is going to be, it's just a matter of when, not if, when there's going to be a major event here, hurricane, what have you. And that's scary.
So diversifying the geographic location of your properties is one of the few ways of actually.
With one caveat, know the market you're going into.
Of course.
I have been going to North Carolina. I did a development there called Mountain Creek Vistas in Cullowhee. And I did that, it was 15, 16, 18 years ago, whenever it was. And that was my entree into that market. And, it's amazing. When I went to pave the roads there, I meet with a guy, and he was a real good old boy. And I couldn't understand him, so his son had to translate at a U-Haul.
Wow. I
said, well, how long does it take to pull a permit? He goes, what do you say? He goes, you don't need to pull a permit to pave the road. What?
That's incredible.
Different world.
Different world.
Completely. I built a garage, a steel structure garage. Didn't need to permit it.
That's the whole different world. Yeah.
Because it was building code from, the dealer sent it to me, and but I wanted to put electric on it. So I called Duke Energy, and I said, oh, by the way, can you recommend an electrician? Oh, yeah, why don't you call so-and-so? Okay. And for $1,500, I got electric in my garage. Oh, my gosh.
And probably in less than a week, whereas in Florida it would take you months and permits and fees and exactly.
And don't get me started, by the way, about the BTR, business tax receipt.
Yeah.
Holy money grab.
I've got a client who owns fractured condos in West Palm Beach, and he's ultimately going to sell them. He's got close to 50 of them, but I'd say about 12 of them have fines and code liens on them now because he didn't get the mail for the BTR tax receipts. He's in California, and now the fines were over $100,000 each. We already went to a hearing on one, and the city only reduced that fine down to $20,000. So,
Jerron,
meaning he's got a $20,000 tax because he didn't pay like an $80
you guys
business tax
were privy
receipt.
to a transaction where I sold a property in
atrocious.
Boynton Beach when they extorted me. I'm on record. Extorted.
Boynton's got me good right now.
Boynton got me for $20,000.
So, finding deals. So, for those investors out there that you've bought and you've flipped hundreds and hundreds of deals in the past years, and now you have a nice portfolio of rental units that you have here in South Florida, but also in North Carolina. What are some recommendations for people out there that are listening in that want to find deals? What should they be looking for? Should they be doing?
First of all, be patient.
Be patient.
Number one, don't settle and fall in love with the numbers, not with the property. If the deal is a good deal, run. Don't wait. Have your trusted realtors on your team.
Have your team ready to go.
Have your team ready to go, and don't worry about the money, because if it's a good deal, I'd love to fund it.
Yeah.
That's where I've been, in most cases, the most successful, when I really understand the market to the point where when I see a deal, I can identify it and I can move super quick on it. And that's like the best.
Yes,
agreed.
And also you have the credibility, the experience, and that speaks volumes.
One of the things that we've talked about in the past, we've both done it when we're finding multifamily deals, is there's so much inventory that's off market. Yeah, you can be looking on the MLS, you can be getting your regular daily updates on what's on the MLS in certain communities or whatever it is, ticklers, but there's so many people out there. We talked about Jim Van Dyke, who's a wholesaler, but there's so many other off-market brokers, realtors, wholesalers that are out there, and constantly being in front of them and reminding them that you're there.
Relationships,
right? Back to relationships.
Yes.
It's very important. We both picked up nice deals from those relationships that other people didn't even get the opportunity to put an offer in on, because we made a solid offer that the seller liked and we got it. And that's really important, those relationships.
And what's interesting is
going to the real estate investor club like you have, that's how you help to foster relationships.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's where you also
it's a meeting point.
You'll meet other wholesalers and
That's right.
People who can really help you along the way.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer in networking by pressing the flesh and getting out there and having that face to face. It's especially for young guys, like they need to understand that that's how the relationship's going to grow. And and I'm happy to if I see somebody that's got potential, like there's a valet guy in the building, here at 200 Palmetto, right next door, pretty much. And he goes, I saw you on YouTube. And he quoted one of my Dweckisms.
No way.
He said, "You're coming to my meeting." And he came. He brought two of his friends, and that guy could be, another investor down the road.
And that's one thing I'll make a point about too, is even these new guys, or the guys that maybe aren't doing a ton of volume, you might want to talk. You might think you want to talk to the guys that are doing, like the Marcus Millichap guys that we're all close with, but like those guys are doing a ton of volume. Awesome, yeah, they got deal flow, cool. But the guys that have like one deal a year or two or whatever, that are just getting started or don't have a lot of relationships, those are the guys you want to be friends with, because they don't know who to bring that deal to. Right. So I make it.
They've landed the whale deal that they're like, oh my God, now I
what
have
do I
a
do?
possible listing. What do I do? So exactly.
And those Marcus guys, they may only need to do one deal a year because they could hit a home run.
Totally.
With 200 unit deals, but they do a lot more than that.
and it's interesting. I'll shout out to my friend Dean Borg. Amazing. This is just a testament to the insanity of the market. He builds a 200 unit building in Miami near the airport, gets it leased up during COVID, puts it to market, and gets 10 cash offers over his $93 million ask.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And sold it with no due diligence in 30 days.
Wow. That's insane.
And that's on some level still happening today for some of these well-marketed properties that are brought to market properly by professionals. Like they're getting hard cash immediately, cash deals close in 3 weeks.
Yes.
It exists down here still.
It does exist.
You know, I went to the National Private Lending conference, and I am like, there is, and I don't know if you'll agree with me, but this is just, and I've talked to other people, and we kind of agree. There is more money, more capital being deployed here than maybe anywhere else in the country. South Florida.
Because the people deploying the capital are moving here. You realize
that whether it's Citadel or just
exactly,
these big funds. Colombia is the #1 country buying here. People coming from Colombia. What about Europe? What about the Middle East? What about Russia? I mean, there's just the rest of South America.
Infinite amounts of money coming in.
I do a lot of business with Germans, people from Turkey. I mean, Latin America is a huge hub, right? As you just mentioned, but yeah, everywhere. This is a very international area, and a lot of people are bringing their money here.
More.
I've got Turkish clients who are about to buy a 37-unit fractured unit deal, and they're going to buy them individually. I have someone putting that deal together, and they're going to buy them cash because they're trying to get their money out of Turkey because the lira is depreciating. So they're trying to get their money in dollars. Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. The dollar is still the universal currency.
I don't see that changing.
I don't see it changing, regardless of the politics. Forget that.
We're not
going there.
We're not going there.
But I'm just telling you, we agree.
And there's one major reason why is because we have the rule of law here. So China and Russia can try to do what they want to do, but they don't have the rule of law. No. And no one wants Chinese yuan that's being artificially manipulated, and no one wants the Russian ruble.
Right.
The only other thing I could see is somehow maybe some type of currency that's solely denominated in dollars and has gold and has gold backing, or silver or something like that.
Right.
Like
Agreed.
how we used to have prior to Bretton Woods in the 60s and the 50s. But that's a whole other discussion for another time.
And I agree with you. Now, it's interesting also, a lot of the Miami, I believe there was a lot of transactions in Miami based on crypto before the crypto crash.
I would make that bet too.
And I don't know that we've seen the softening up, but from that little bit of a debacle, so that remains to be seen. But
there might be some time. Yeah.
Could be.
But
some of those condos, I think you would see them buying those.
That's classic
condos
Miami.
That's where you have to look at Peter Zalewski. Condo vultures. He knows all that.
Yeah.
That's his wheelhouse.
He would know that exactly.
So something interesting to note, like during the post 2020 to 2022, historically, Florida had most of its investment come from out of the U.S., right? So like you just said, Europe and South America, et cetera.
Sure.
But during that time, it was hard to invest within the U.S. if you're outside the country because of the COVID restrictions, right? So most of the investment came from within during that time. And then things opened up again, and so you had all the investment from inside the U.S., then all of a sudden Canadians can buy again, and other people outside the country can buy again. So you had that perfect storm of, we have a lot of people that moved here from internally in the U.S., and then also you get the layering on of the international money, and that's why I think we're still relatively healthy and strong in this market. It hasn't been this collapse that people were expecting when interest rates went up, right?
And we've not seen this long of a cycle ever.
It's been 13 years or so.
And young guys like you haven't been through it.
I've only lived. I always say this to people when they're like, "Oh, you've done super well and it's super interesting." I'm like, "Yes, but I've only been trained and invested in 2010 to 2022, which has been this. Even when things looked bad, all of a sudden they just kept going, right?" So
I remember 3 years ago when the pandemic first started, I was buying real estate and cars like crazy because people were living in fear. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. That's some amazing deals.
Yeah.
When they're running for the hills, you're buying, which is
so many lessons learned in that moment. I passed on deals a month after shutdowns began, and I was like, oh my God, in hindsight, I'm like, gosh, I should have picked
I was
up.
an essential worker, so were you and you.
Yeah, of course you were. Yeah. I was going in the office. Yeah.
Same with me.
Yeah. I was brave. I was a hero.
Yes,
I was a hero.
You're my hero.
In my own head.
Is that your hero jacket?
Last question on the buying, flipping, landlording topic here. How do you know what deals that you want to keep? What are the factors that go into it versus when you're buying properties and flipping it and selling it?
That is a great question. And I'm going to answer it in kind of multi-parts.
Sure.
So I always tell people, create a pipeline. I set a goal in 1994, which I achieved last year.
It was a monetary goal of a net worth, and we won't get into the number. But you told me, and I was very proud of you. It's a nice number, but we'll leave it at that. But that's great. And I will just want to comment on that real quick. Really important to have goals, short term, medium term, long term.
That's where
goals.
I'm going.
Yes,
that's where I'm going with this. To answer your question, is I'll look at an asset and I'll say, you know what, I will keep this in my 3 to 5 year plan. I'm just going to do a light rental rehab, if that, and then in 3 years, I'll sell it as is, or I'll renovate it to sell at that time. What does it give me? It gives me, the depreciation, the appreciation, and the income, and then if I don't want it in my long-term portfolio for whatever reason, whether it's the area, whether it's only got one bathroom, whatever the reason, I'll have a short-term and more long-term goals. So ultimately to have, my piece of the pie is I'll have, let's just say, 20 units ultimately free and clear. Mm-hmm. And then I'll be, in great shape forever.
Awesome.
So if I ever need cash, okay, I'll sell a unit.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Or do a refi or something, cash a refi or whatever.
Remember, debt is a 4-letter word, and not having debt gives you all the freedom you can possibly ask for financially, and I think that's what people should strive for. Yeah. I think it's going to be very difficult for many millennials because down here, how are they going to much less buy something that they can move into and live, and then buy an investment property as well? So that, again, I've seen them do it, but I think it's in the minority.
It's hard. I've helped a lot of, and we were talking about this yesterday actually, I've helped a lot of buyers, young guys, who are like, hey, how do I make the most of my investment? I need a house, I need a place to live. And so I've helped a ton of guys house hack. And that's how I started. I bought a duplex in 2011.
Good for you.
Which was amazing. And
it's a really nice duplex.
And it worked out. And I still live there till this day.
He lives on the one side. Yeah.
Well, you're going where I'm about to go. Yeah. So I have a lovely brick member who owns her. I'm going to be listing her place for sale, and she wants to find a duplex, live in one side, rent out the other.
Smart.
It's smart, but
it's hard to find them.
Hard. Like single woman, she's got to be in a good area.
Yeah.
She doesn't care about schools necessarily, but to be safe. And I'm not finding anything, even if it's a 2-1.
$700,000.
Thank you. Yeah. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
700.
And there's like one of them available, right? Like in Boca, as an example, right?
But forget Boca. Just even going to South Palm Beach County, Boynton, Lantana.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It is. The numbers on so many of these deals don't make sense, but again, there are deals out there. You just have to find them, and you have to do the networking and relationships. Exactly, all of that good stuff.
So what me and my partner have decided as we've grown here in South Florida, it's like, hey, we have a expertise from call it, I don't know, Broward, Palm Beach, and even St. Lucie County now. And we really like those markets, but it's hard to find stuff. So we'll continue to do deals there, but we need to find like another market that like can give us a little bit more deal flow than what we have. And so
Vero Beach.
Same here, yeah. Melbourne.
So I just bought in Fort Pierce 18 units. And yes, and Vero is like another obvious to me like location to kind of play in. Mm-hmm.
So have you explored Vero at all?
A little bit. We haven't dove into it. Oh. Yeah.
There's some very high-end stuff over there on the coast.
So what's interesting is you just touched on it.
Yeah.
Vero is quiet money.
Quiet. Old money, yeah.
Yep.
CEO money, kind of.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
Yep.
And as you go closer to the water, you'll see it. But away from the water, it is, what I do is I set myself, you talked about goals, I set a goal in 2021 to buy a property in Vero Beach. Well, 21 passed me by. I didn't buy a property, so I penalized myself. I'm my best competition. I compete with myself.
I do that too.
So in 2022, I bought 2 in Vero to make up for it.
Amazing. No, I love it. That's what you have to do. You have to reward yourself when you meet your goals, whatever that reward is.
Correct.
Or penalize yourself and not.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so a few lashes, whatever you need to do.
Whatever you're into, Jerron.
Whatever you I did. Was I on camera?
Yeah, you were.
Are
you wearing false eyelashes?
I don't want this to get any worse, so we're going to wrap this up here.
I told you it could get spicy. Some like it hot. You know what they say in the South, right? Mo hotter, mo better. Go ahead.
With that being said, another Dweckism, yes, that will be in the book. Yeah. Let's wrap up with just sort of a few remaining thoughts on the economy. We've talked a lot globally about the economy, but what are you doing? Are you trying to put your money to work still? And where are you putting it to work? Is it more in North Carolina? Where are you looking for deals? What is your
well, I'm really energized for the North Carolina market. It just really, and I focus on a number of different places. There's a developer out of Miami that's building in Hendersonville, and they're claiming
that's a growing town. That's really growing.
What they're claiming, and I don't know if that's true, is that Hendersonville is the Aspen of the South, and
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that either.
Maybe Highlands, North Carolina is. But
Highlands Cashiers, but there's there's that market excites me. I just love being there, and I've got an amazing crew there, and I've got my peeps there. So, and I also believe in this market. If I didn't believe in it, I wouldn't be here doing business. So,
good.
I would like to see the insurance crisis handled. And I'm hoping that there's some serious movement in that area. I'd like to see property taxes, being, if they're going to spend it wisely, but stop, gouging investors. Mm-hmm. It's just ridiculous.
Agreed.
And you go argue and you waste your time with these schmucks behind the desks who don't know the real estate market because they're, just pencil pushers. So, but in overall, I think that our market's vibrant. It's going to stay that way. The economy is healthy down here, with the exception of the affordability problem, and the struggle. That struggle is real for those folks.
Sure.
But I'm a firm believer in capitalism, and moving forward. Hopefully, we're not going to really have such a recession. I don't know that that's going to really happen. And hopefully, we remain calm and peaceful going forward over this next year or so.
Agreed. Well, we'll put your contact information in the description of the video, but why don't you tell people how they can reach out to you, whether they're a possible borrower for a private loan, or maybe a lender that you want to help place into a loan, or someone looking for real estate services.
So for that, call. Just pick up the phone, 954-354-1400, and just call for private equity funding. We'll happily talk with you. And for Brick, 561-391-REAL, 561-391-REAL, or visit the website, which is www.bocarealestateclub.com. And if you saw this podcast, then what we can do is just say, I'll let you kick the tires and come as my guest. So
nice.
How's that?
Added value, yeah. Instead of having to pay the normal
$20 door fee,
they'll mention it. Yeah,
that'll expire. Let's say at the August meeting. Gives them some time to
for us to get this on YouTube and get it blasted out. So that's great. Well, thank you for thank you for the offer for everyone. So we appreciate you coming today, David. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for the laughs.
Yeah.
Looking forward to your coffee table book.
Oh, yeah.
With Dweckisms.
Yeah, I'll give you each a signed copy.
Excellent. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too, guys. Thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks.